Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to be discussing the 8 books I read in January. So January didn't really start off with the bang I wanted it to in terms of my reading. I really wanted to, set the tone for my reading at least. And instead, I decided to sink an obscene amount of hours into Breath of the Wild. I hadn't played the game in like 6 months. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do that for an afternoon. And then 3 weeks later, I was like, great, I've read basically nothing. So I also managed to break my YA fantasy curse. I haven't given a YA fantasy book 5 stars in an entire year. It's been a calendar year, and I have a 5-star read that I'm really excited to talk about, but you'll see that later on. The first book I read in January was Love is a Revolution by Renee Watson. I read this via NetGalley, and if I'm correct, this book is coming out February 2nd, the day I'm filming it, so it's now available to the public. This is a YA contemporary coming-of-age story following Nala. She's a fat black teen girl. She's just sort of deciding what she wants to do with the rest of her life, and then she meets this boy and tells like a small lie that kind of snowballs, and she finds herself pretending to be someone she's not. This story has a huge focus on self-love and acceptance of oneself, and it's not in regards to body image. She loves the way her body is. She just has to feel confident in who she is, and her journey discovering that was something I really enjoyed. Content warnings I would give for this is just, I guess, some discussions of body image and complicated familial relationships, specifically with a parent. I enjoyed the fact that this was geared to teenagers. I liked the discussions on social justice and the discussion of like a teenager not knowing everything yet and maybe not being sold on being super socially conscious yet, but kind of being challenged on that. The scenes themselves, though, felt really rushed. Certain scenes I would have appreciated more time with them. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. Next book. I then went and read Hood Feminism by Mikki Kendall. I listened to the audiobook, which Mikki Kendall narrates herself. I forgot to write down content warnings, and if you didn't know, I'm attempting to give content warnings for every single book I read this year during my wrap-ups, which in retrospect, that was so stupid because this is nonfiction. It's titled Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot, and it's literally discussing hard-hitting topics that are happening in real life. But I would give a content warning for discussions of poverty, spousal abuse, gun violence, police brutality, racism, discrimination. In terms of the way this story was constructed, I actually was really appreciative of it because Mikki Kendall balances both like personal anecdotes and experiences and then like scientific research to back up her claims and what she's getting at. This brings to light a lot of social issues that need to be addressed for us to truly get to equality. She spends a lot of time debunking and dunking on white feminism and how white feminism essentially is attempting to elevate only white people as opposed to getting the basic needs of everyone met, and also spends a good time dunking on Lena Dunham, which was just an added bonus. This is basically just a guide on intersectionality and why intersectionality matters so much. It was really interesting reading this because this was written, I think, like 2019 and maybe early 2020, and seeing the way that 2020 evolved was just a really interesting experience. I enjoyed this a lot. I got a lot of value out of the story. I'm not rating nonfiction. I think that's where I'm landing on this, but this was excellent. The next book I read was Realm of Ash by Tasha Suri. This is the sequel and finale to the books of Amba duology, the first book being Empire of Sand. I review for the first book and for this book if you're interested in my full thoughts. This takes place 10 years after the events of the first book, and it follows the main character's sister Arwa, who her whole country is dying and she has something that she can bring to the table to help fix it, and then has to delve into the world of like terrible politicians and the treacherous nature of court and it goes on from there. Content warnings include self-harm for magical purposes, bodily harm/abuse, genocide, loss of a spouse, gore, murder, death, and loss of a parent. I deeply resonated and connected to Arwa because she's just so angry and frustrated with her circumstances, but feels as if she has to play ball with like the people in her life, and her journey of sort of unpacking that and going away from that was just a thing of beauty. The romance in here was really sweet. I liked the mix of court elements and intrigue, and then when we divert from that, really enjoyed it. The ending had me in tears. I loved all of the thematic elements in here, and specifically regarding culture and family. There's so much in here to unpack. Check out my full review. I love this story. 5 stars. The next thing I finished was We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. I also have a review for this one, and this was a reread for me. This follows 2 main perspective characters, one being Zafira. She kind of masquerades during the day as the hunter, a masked person who goes into a deadly forest to provide for her. And then the second perspective is the Crown Prince Nasir, who is an assassin, basically held against his will and doing the bidding of his like corrupted father. They are both set on separate quests to recover a magical object to help bring peace back into their land, and they like kind of crash headfirst together with a group of others and have to figure out how to work with one another. Content warnings include death of a parent, murder/death, parental abuse, and torture. This improved a lot upon reread, although I do have some issues with the overall construction of the story. I did not jive entirely with the writing. The prose itself was nice. The characterization side of that was a bit weak. I liked the setting a lot. The magic and the world was really cool, although there was a bit too much kind of going on with that. The plot, very slow, and then also incredibly fast-paced at the same time. It's very choppy, and the ending is just kind of buck wild and kind of a hot mess. I enjoyed our characters a lot more this time and their progression a lot. I appreciated their character arcs significantly more. I gave it 3 stars. So I just had to take an unscheduled break for a good few hours, so hopefully not much has shifted or changed. I've tried to keep things in check, but we're going to move on to the next book now. The next book I read was The Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. This, I can't believe I got the title right for the first of all, because I've been calling it a dark and hollowed star for like the whole month at this point in time. But this is a young adult fantasy debut that's pitched as City of Bones meets The Folk of the Air trilogy and Everyone's Gay as Hell. The pitch itself is excellent, is why I chose to request it on NetGalley. This book is coming out February 24th, so if you're interested. Content warnings include, though, death and murder, serial killings, depression, and human trafficking. I liked this book in theory, but the execution was definitely rough. I have never come across a book that is more info dumpy. Okay, in my lifetime seems excessive, but in recent memory, I have not had a book that just dumps information and keeps doing it. It was beyond excessive, and it definitely affects every other element of the story. The pacing is just shot. The characters take a back seat sometimes to the information just being dumped on us. The plot also takes a long time to get moving. I wasn't a fan of the writing and how they chose to construct the story. I enjoyed, though, that it's really queer and campy, and it definitely gives me the City of Bones vibes. I like the 2 budding romances that were starting in this series, and I think it's definitely a me thing. A lot of people have loved it, like the early reviews have been fantastic. I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars. I am disappointed, but I could be convinced to read the sequel, maybe, because I did enjoy the romances. Those were like the brightest spots for me. The next book I read sort of on a total whim, or at least as soon as what I did, and I read and loved Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I have a full spoiler-free review coming out right after this video, so if you're interested in my full thoughts. But this is an Arthurian retelling, and it follows a 16-year-old girl who's doing like a pre-college sort of thing where she's on a college campus. Then she witnesses a secret society performing magic, and this magic unlocks a memory in relation to her mother's death, and she kind of has to infiltrate the secret society to find out what happened to her mother. Content warnings include death of a parent, trauma and grief, racism and microaggressions, mild gore and blood, and rape off the page. There's magic, there's romance, there's phenomenal writing. I love this book so much. This is one of the best books I think I've read in a long time. The characters were great. I love the development in regards to them. I thought the world was super cool, the magic, the demons, and the added magic that you don't expect. I love the commentary and themes specifically regarding academia and like colonialist structures. The one critique I could lob at it is a bit info dumpy at the beginning, but I loved it. I gave this book a glowing 5 stars. I have not stopped thinking about this book since I finished it. I then went and read via audio The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. This is set in the world where humans basically all live in this like gigantic forest, and they live side by side with these like evil monstrous spirits that basically want them all dead. But there was a deal struck, and the queen of this realm controls all the spirits. But our main character comes into the fray after an uncharacteristic fairy demon attack happens and leaves all of her village slaughtered except for her family, and she vows that this will never happen again and that she is going to become the queen's heir. The setting is super cool. They travel among the treetops and they live like up in the trees and stuff, and that stuff consumed more and more of it because the setting is just so unique. And I also liked the world and the idea of these deadly fairies whose existence is basically to just want to kill humans. The story itself, though, is a wee bit bland. I don't feel like we really super get to know our main character, Delena. She's okay. All the side characters, though, not great. The romance, not great. Even her trainer, I was getting irritated by. I just never felt really compelled to pick up this story. It just was slow and not very interesting to me. This could entirely be a me thing, but I just didn't love it. It was okay, this book. Pretty mediocre. 3 stars. The final book I read was Cemetery Boys by Adrian Thomas. It follows a boy named Yadriel, who is a trans teen brujo who really wants to be more involved in like the Bruhex community, but his family is not very accepting of his gender. So he decides to do a magical spell to prove to his family that he can do it. The spell goes kind of wrong, and he brings back the wrong dead boy who he kind of went to school with, this bad boy, sort of unknown guy, and they have to figure out why our ghost friend is dead, and some kind of paranormal romance ensues. Delight to read, and specifically because our main like trio of characters, Yadriel and his struggles, were so relatable and heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to read at times, just not seeing him accepted truly by his family. His cousin Maritza, she was like so loud and strong and just such a great pair to Yadriel. And Julian, who is our rough around the edges ghost, who is very misunderstood but also an incredibly passionate and like loving character, and the romance was beautiful. I actually thought the family dynamics were displayed so well here, how complicated family and familial love can be. The plot definitely takes a backseat and is quite predictable in my opinion. Like I knew not exactly, but I knew sort of the beats that the story was going to follow, and specifically regards to reveals, I was like, not shocking in the slightest, but that's okay. That wasn't the point of the story. The elements of grief in here woven throughout it was really well done. Yadriel has recently lost his mother and is working through those feelings. And the content warnings include, because I'm trash, transphobia, dead naming, which happens off the page, and misgendering, death of a parent, and murder. I love this book. I see why so many people have deeply related to this book. It was a great time. I gave it 4 stars. So those are all the books I read in January. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite read of January was. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye.